Welcome to my channel. She thinks she knows your reactions. Anger, frustration, sharp words, thought fade as quickly as they're spoken. But what happens when you give her none of that? No fire, no drama, just calm detachment. That's when things shift. It doesn't just surprise her, it unsettles her. Because instead of fighting for control, you've removed yourself from the game entirely. It's in this video. We're diving into why indifference carries more weight than rage, and how a compensated stoic presence can leave a lasting mark she never saw coming. And if you find value in these insights, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the lessons that can change how you move in life. Let's get started. The quiet that echoes. Number 1. The quiet that echoes. Indifference is not the explosion she expects. It's not the shouting match, the slammed door, or the sharp words that can be dismissed later as heat off the moment. No, indifference is a quiet withdrawal that doesn't need permission, explanation, or an audience. You don't leave with fireworks. You simply walk away calmly, as if you've decided that your energy is better spent elsewhere. That kind of silence is unsettling. Anger, for all its noise, is easier to process because it gives her something to push against. But when you're indifferent, there's nothing for her to fight, just an empty space she didn't think you would leave. Imagine 2 men ending a relationship. One yells, sends long messages, demands closure. She rolls her eyes, tells herself he's just emotional, and moves on. The other man says very little, packs his dignity, and leaves without bitterness. Days later, she's still wondering what's going through his mind. That's the thing about indifference. It plants a question mark in her thoughts that keeps growing. When there's no dramatic ending to focus on, she's left with herself. And that's often the most uncomfortable place, Tobe. From a Stoic perspective, this ist discipline of restraint. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the value of staying unmoved by what doesn't align with virtue. In relationships, this means you don't hand over your peace in exchange for temporary emotion. Aurelius. You understand that note of writhing needs a response. And that's the truest form of strength. Isto, let the silence speak on your behalf. You're not ignoring her to hurt. Her, you're choosing not to engage in psalmize. That would drain you. The akufir quiet isn't just about absence. It's about what that absence represents. It says you've reached a point where you no longer need to prove yourself, defend your worth, or chase validation. It communicates that your sense of self is intact, regardless of her approval or attention. And in that realization, Chef feels something deeper than the sting-a-thon argument. She feels the weight of no longer having an influence over you. Over time, she may replay moments in her head, looking for signs she missed, wondering if there's a way to pull you back. But by then, you've already shifted your focus to better things. That's the quiet that echoes, not because you've slammed the door, but because you left it open and chose not to walk back. Throw it when she can't predict you. Number 2, when she can't predict you. There was a time when she could read you like a book. She knew which words would set you off, which actions would get you chasing, and which silences were only temporary before you came running back. She had a map of your emotions and used it to navigate every argument, every disagreement, every moment. Off tension, but now something's changed. You've taken that map away. Your calm is no longer the pause before a storm. It's the new weather entirely. This unsettles her more than anger ever could. Anger was familiar territory. She knew how to handle it, even use it to her advantage. She could twist it into guilt frame herself as the victim, or simply wait for you to come down from the high of your emotions. But indifference, calm thought, doesn't break under provocation. That's dangerous because it leaves her without control over the game she once played so well. Picture this. Before Eve sent a cutting remark, you'd defend yourself. If she pulled away, you'd close the distance. She tested your pieties, you'd prove your commitment. Now she pushes and you don't move. She tries to bait you and you don't bite. It's as if her old script has been burned. She's left ad-libbing in a play she no longer directs. That's when frustration turns inward, not because I are punishing her, but because she's losing her grip on the predictability she once relied on. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and Yao will find strength. In this context, you're not just controlling your temper, you're removing her ability to dictate her emotional state. You're no longer a puppet reacting to her pulls. You're Theon, holding your own strings. And here's the beauty of unpredictability. When it comes from a place of self-control, it forces respect. She may not admit it out loud, but deep down she knows. You've changed the rules. You've shifted from Bung, a man who can be emotional manipulate, to one who decides when and how he engages. You've shown that your piece is not up for negotiation, and the two will not dance to a tune you didn't choose. Your calm becomes the most unpredictable thing about you. Not because you're acting mysteriously, but because you've stopped giving her the action she expects. And that absence of predictability, it's not chaos, it's freedom. And it's the very thing that leaves her wondering what you'll do next without ever getting an answer. If this shift in power dynamics resonates with you, take a moment to think about how it plays out in your own life. Have you ever noticed how people's behavior changes when they can no longer predict or control your reactions? That's the quiet strength of emotional sovereignty. It doesn't just protect your peace, it changes the entire game. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments, or simply type "strength lifts in my stillness." And if you're finding value in this message, don't forget to like the video so we can keep sharing these Stoic lessons with more people wanted them. The mirror she avoids. Number 3. The mirror she avoids. Think of a pond on a still morning. Nora pools. No movement, just a perfect reflection of whatever leans over it. That's what happens when you stop reacting. You become still. And in that stillness, she sees herself with clarity she didn't expect and probably doesn't welcome. Before your emotions blur your surface, your frustration, your defense, your attempts to explain all gave her something to focus on beside her own actions. Now the water is calmed. The only thing staring back is her own reflection. When you were engaged in back and forth, she could point to your tone, your words, or your mistakes. It was a convenient shield. But once you're of yourself from the cycle, once you've stopped being the emotional sponge, there's no shield left. She can't hide behind your reactions because there aren't any. The conversation becomes one-sided. And silence has a way of making comfort. Truth's louder, it's not avenge. It's not a tactic to make her squirm, it's a choice rooted in self-respect. You've decided your peace matters more than proving a point. This is where Stoic philosophy fits like Aki in a lock. Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By choosing not to react, you're not avoiding reality. You're controlling your contribution to it. You've built walls around your inner citadel, and no chaos is allowed. Inside, and here's what unsettles her most. She can't control what the mirror shows. When you were reactive, she called influence the picture. Now, the image issues alone, raw and unfiltered. If her behavior was selfish, manipulative, or careless, she's the only one left to face it. People don't like mirrors when the reflection tells them they're the problem. So, she may try to look away, distract herself, or find someone else's reflection to stand in. But deep down, she remembers. Over time, she may even come to realize that your silence wasn't cold. It was clarity, where in punishing her, you were protecting yourself. And maybe, just maybe, she'll learn that when a man stops absorbing the storm, he forces the storm to sight self for what it really is. That's the mirror she avoids, and the truth she can't unsee. No more feeding the fire. Number 4. No more feeding the fire. Every fire needs something to keep it alive. Oxygen, wood, fuel. Arguments work the same way. They feed on your reactions, your defenses, your need to be understood. As long as you keep tossing emotional logs into the flames, they'll keep burning. But the moment you stop, when you pull back your attention and refuse to feed it, the fire begins to die, no matter how fiercely it once raged. She's used to the cycle. Spark-off disagreement turns into a heated exchange. Voices rise, emotions flare, and even if it ends badly, there's energy to it. That energy is addictive beast. It proves she can still reuse, still get under your skin. But when you stop reacting, when her provocation is met with calm silence, the dynamic shifts completely. Without your fuel, there's nothing left but smoke. curling into the air, fading until there's nothing at all. This isn't about punishing her, and it's not some cold game of control. It's about recognizing which battles are worth your time and which ones simply drain you with a resolution. Epictetus. Put it plainly, any person capable of angering Welba becomes your master. When you refuse tongage, you're not just avoiding thifity, you're reclaiming ownership of fear emotions. You're making a choice. My peace is more valuable than this argument. Imagine two scenarios. In thirst, she throws an accusation your way and you immediately defend yourself, explaining every detail, raising your voice as frustration grows. Hours later, you're drained and nothing's resolved. In the second scenario, she throws some accusation but you